All right, guys, welcome back to Someday Soon. Today, I'm super excited for the episode we have in store. We are joined by some upstate New York talent making a name for himself in the Los Angeles film industry. We have writer, director, founder of Vision Kid Films, also creative director of Vision Kid Films. We have Sam DelFavero here with us today.
Hello.
Sam, thank you so much for hopping on with us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's like we were kind of catching up really quick before. I haven't, caught up with you in a long time. So I'm really excited to hear about, I've followed you for a long time, seen a lot of your work come out and you guys do some incredible stuff. So I'm really excited to kind of,
Thanks, man.
Walk through some of it. Yeah. So
Thanks. I'm stoked.
Yeah. I gave you, the intro of there's so many different titles and there's so many different roles that you've had throughout your career so far. What is, the day-to-day for you with Vision Kid maybe in particular, and what does a creative director role of a film production company look like?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. Recently, I've been doing a lot of just like directing, just straight up like going on set, shooting projects. Vision Kid, we're like a very decentralized company. So there's three of us that like kind of all like work together, and we all have like our own sort of like personal like side hustles, and then we've got Vision Kid, which like is kind of where we like conglomerate and like work together and collaborate in order to like do bigger projects. So yeah, like I do a lot of directing. It's a lot of like looking for clients, looking for people who need commercials or music videos or just projects made in general. And then the creative director, like kind of how I function with I've functioned like this with a couple of different companies, and for the longest with Vision Kid for sure, is just kind of like looking over the projects and trying to find what are the best ideas that match up with like the project that we have, and like how do we make sure that it has a certain level of quality when it like comes out, and sometimes it's an uphill battle, but and that's never from our team. It's just making movies is really hard sometimes. I had a professor in college who used to say that making a movie is like going to the moon. It's really, really hard. And I always love that. So it's just, it's every day is kind of a little bit different. It really depends on the project that we're making. But yeah, it's kind of just a bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so true, man. Like anyone that's really honest about it, and people from the outside don't fully understand. They're like, "Oh, you run around with cameras and all this," and it's like just the fact that a movie is completed, or any project in that realm is completed, is a miracle in its own right. Like it's everything is pushing against you at all times.
Can I swear on this?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, yeah, it fucking sucks sometimes. It really like it's really hard, and like I think one of the things I learned earliest on in my career, because I went to film school and I was just kind of like, to be honest with you, like I was a little out of my depth. I think there were a lot of kids who came in when I went to school that were like really they had gone to like art high schools and like had worked on projects and had family in the industry, and they had like a really robust understanding of how a movie was made. And like I knew some stuff, and I'd shot stuff with my friends, and I had made things going into film school, but I had no idea what the day-to-day of being on set was actually like. And as I've gotten older, and like especially when I started, there are so many like 15, 16-hour days of just like standing in the cold, waiting for somebody to tell you to put a light somewhere. And yeah, the fact, like you said, the fact that anything gets made at all is just crazy to me, especially if it's good.
Yeah.
I feel like I still don't know how good things are made. And whenever I do make something good, I'm like, wow, all right, I guess I got lucky this time,
for sure. And then everyone who makes that good thing comes out and is like, I mean, we had no idea it was going to be that good.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of just going through it. Like that's the craziest part of it all, is not only is it a miracle that it's made, but then you get to the end and it's like, all right, there's a good chance that this is not going to come together how we think it is. So,
100%.
Always an uphill battle. But you kind of mentioned something there that we've talked on this podcast a lot about, is film school. You went to film school at Syracuse University, which is like a very well-renowned, massive film program, well-respected. What was your experience with film school like? There's always this, kind of debate. I feel like especially it's around all college, but especially with art schools, of to go, whether or not to go. I guess now looking back from where you sit now, what is your opinion on your experience, and would you do it again?
I got some really great things out of it. I got some paying for it hurt. But like I think that It really depends what type of person you are. For me, I think it was a lot more helpful than a lot of my contemporaries and like a lot of like the artists that I work with. Like, I think that of the people that I collaborate a lot, going to college is very much like a 50-50 split. Like, I know a lot of people who have, I know a lot of people who haven't. I mean, my mom is a teacher. My dad was a mechanic when I was growing up, and then was an engineer in a power plant as I got older. And like, I I didn't have any connections to the industry. I didn't know anybody. There was like one family in our entire hometown that like actually had worked in entertainment at all, like bar none. So it wasn't like there was a huge pull for me to like dive into. And I went kind of with the understanding of like, I really want to learn the technical craft of how this is done. I think if the idea for people is to go and just purely learn the technical stuff, go apprentice, go get a trade, go work as an assistant to a cinematographer, email directors. Like, if you just want to learn the hard skills, don't bother with college, because I have learned more in my coming up on like 9 years of being out of school and working in the industry, because there was some crossover. Like, while I was in college, I started working on sets. Like, I learned more on set than I did in school. But if you want to learn, if you're a person like me who maybe is a little naive and needs some help, like meeting people, probably like still like 60% of the jobs that I have gotten since living in LA have been because I went to Syracuse and I knew somebody who just was like, oh, I know this guy, he's really good at this thing, let me hit him up and see if he's available. Or like, it passes down the chain where, one Syracuse person meets another person and so on and so forth. And so like, that has been super helpful. And also like the art stuff, having a place where like I was surrounded by like-minded people, and we were constantly challenging each other and constantly were helping each other. And like, it takes a long time to like level up your craft. But I think if you were to look at my first ever movie in college versus my last ever movie in college, my thesis, the jump in work is massive. And that's not just because the classes that I was taking, it was because of the sheer amount of time I spent with my classmates and how much we collaborated. And like, by the end of that 4 years, there was such a language between us that like everybody's movies were just a million times better. And like, it's really hard to find out here because it's really expensive to make a movie. And school makes it really cheap. So there's definitely like pros and cons, but like, I don't know, looking back at it, I think I would be a different person if I didn't go, but I think I would be equally successful. I think my success would just look very different, if that makes sense. It's a very person to person basis, I think.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think that's kind of the consensus that a lot of the people I've talked to, and that's pretty much my opinion as well of film school, is just that, it's a great community building tool. But there's just so many other opportunities out there to, like you said, learn the hard skills. And I mean, these days, YouTube is like, you can learn literally 100%. Anything. And just getting out there and practicing and doing it is going to be your best bet 9 times out of 10.
Especially if you can find a group of people who are willing to learn together. Like, if you live in a place where, I mean, I don't know how many high schoolers watch this, but like, if you're in high school, if you're like in 10th grade and you can meet people who are also interested in making movies, you are going to learn so much more, because you can spread that knowledge out and people will learn together, and it will make you a better artist, a better creator. Like, I truly believe that like good ideas can come from anybody or anywhere. And like, you can be an individual person who's like an auteur or whatever, but the only way you're ever going to make something truly great is if you can share that knowledge with other people and you can collaborate to make something bigger than yourself. Like that. And so, yeah, I think,
100%. And like a lot of the small like indie movies that end up being like wildly successful out of nowhere, a lot of it is, they talk to crew and producers and directors, and it's like, we're all had this like, let's go make a movie attitude, and like everyone just, a rising tide, raises all ships is really what it comes down to. So being surrounded by other people that are right there with you is like the most massive piece of that puzzle.
100%.
But we got into, so we talked about, you going to Syracuse, but let's even take it a step back. You had mentioned you had made some stuff in high school. At what point when you were growing up did you kind of come around to the arts? When did you find your creativity, and at what point did it stop becoming a hobby and more become a path for you?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. I actually need to shout out my photography teacher in like 11th grade, Mr. Gilmore. Did you have Mr. Gilmore?
I did take Mr. Gilmore's photography class, which, a quick peek behind the curtain here, if you hadn't noticed already, me and Sam are from the same hometown, which is the connection here. So yes, I did have Mr. Gilmore for photography as well.
Dude, my sister's a doctor. She's really smart. She's really successful. I was kind of the weird younger child who liked to draw, and I had always done cartoons, and I did some animation stuff when I was in middle school, just playing around with Adobe Flash. I had a ripped version. Don't take me to jail for this, Adobe. I had a ripped version of CS 2 or 3 for After Effects, and I would do all of my editing and special effects in After Effects because I couldn't find a torrented version of Premiere. And then I did some Adobe Flash stuff, and it was just kind of a hobby. And I thought I wanted to kind of follow in my sister's school shoes and go to school for medicine or biology or some sort of science. And I just kind of hated it. I really didn't have fun. I'm not super good at math. I was really bored in a lot of my classes. And then I took Mr. Gilmore's photography class, and I kind of very clearly jumped kind of most of the kids were there just to sort of get an easy credit and move on. And I was clearly really interested in it. And he was like, hey, this is a job. You can go and do this for money. So yeah, I was 10th, 11th grade. And then I was really nervous to tell my parents. And during parent teacher conferences, he actually told my parents that I was interested in this. And they came home and were like, hey, Mr. Gilmore told us that you are really interested in making movies. And I kind of broke down and was like, I don't think I want to go to school to be a biologist. I think I want to go do film school. And my parents were really supportive, and they had one condition. They were like, if you're going to do it, do it 100%. Don't go and be one of those kids that shows up and doesn't really go to class and just kind of does it for an easy degree. You have to go to college, and you have to try to make something of yourself. And I was like, okay. And so it kind of started from there, and I got really obsessed with it. And I had started younger. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I watched a lot of Freddie W at the time. Corridor Digital was huge too. I always kind of loved it, but it wasn't until that point that I was like, oh, I need to lock in and take this seriously.
Yeah. And I love that advice too, and that could go for anything, but I think especially in the art fields where it's you could be the best artist, best filmmaker, best whatever in the world, and just for whatever reason the chips might not fall in your favor. So it's you have to give yourself every single opportunity that you get to chase down every opportunity to put yourself in that position. So just saying go for it 100% is I think that's the best sort of advice you could give to anybody at that point, and the best support you could give to anybody at that point, which is incredible.
And I think it really positioned me when I got into college to be I'm going to work on every possible set that I can and try my best, because I remember my dad having a really serious talk where he was like, there is no world where you get out of school and you go work a desk and you ride that 9 to 5 making $70K a year and just kind of skate through life. He was I don't exactly remember how he positioned it, but I remember him being there is no get a business degree and go work in a financial office. He was if you're going to do this, this is really hard and you have to try. And that was the first time I was, okay, I gotta lock in. I gotta make this happen. And
right.
It was great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And another great thing with that too is we've talked a lot about there always needs to be someone early on, I feel in your sort of journey to finding where your path wants to lead when you're doing something that's this difficult and this sort of unknown, that just has to give you a little bit of faith in yourself, and having that first person to just kind of say I believe in you, or show you in some way their support is is so massive. So I
It's
always
massively important.
encourage everyone around you, if you have somebody that's, it doesn't matter, a small business, it doesn't matter what they're doing, whatever their hard thing is, just show up for them. Like it's the most massive thing that you could ever do for anybody in that position.
100%. When I was in school, I was like a adjunct teacher, like assistant teacher, for schools in Syracuse. Like, and for the audience who doesn't know, where I went to school and close to like our hometown, at the time, Syracuse had like the fourth poorest district in the United States. Like, it was just a really rough place to live. And a lot of the kids weren't given a lot of opportunities that I was when I was a kid, you know, like my dad had a camcorder. He had a film camera. Like, I just had access to that stuff. And like, they just didn't. And so I worked with this teacher named Steve Mahan, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But like, he was a really wonderful guy, and he kind of like dedicated his life to trying to like share the arts to younger people. And it was crazy the difference you would see in kids, where just a little bit of encouragement, like just providing them, like we would give them just these shitty little digital point and shoot cameras. And the first week they'd be like, what? I don't care about this. I don't want this thing. But by the end of the semester, by 6-8 weeks going in every couple of times every week to these kids, just mentioning a few times like, hey, this is a really great picture. Some of them would like, by the end are coming in and showing you their work and going, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. Mr. DelFavero, look what I did. And yeah, I think it really speaks a lot to just like one person just saying, hey, you did great. You worked really hard on this. This looks really nice. I'm proud of you. Like, completely can change somebody's attitude, especially when you're in like, I don't know, 8th grade. I don't know how old they are. This maybe 7th, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Especially growing up, like everyone, you know, you think back at yourself in middle school, high school, and you're like, even the kids that come off as the most confident, like nobody is confident in who they are at that point. Like everybody
100%.
is just like, it's just one of the worst times of life in terms of like trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing. So like just having a little bit of support is massive. So that's awesome that you did that, and thank you for sharing that story. That's incredible.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
That's great. And so you're eventually, so you go on to finish school at Syracuse. You graduated with a degree. Did you have any interning opportunities? Like, what brought you to LA? I know there are some schools that do programs in different larger cities like that. Is that sort of the case for you, or did you just make the decision to head out there?
So kind of both. I kind of moved to LA on a crash out, to be honest with you. Like I did a semester in LA, and we had 2 different things that we could kind of do. We could go to Los Angeles for a semester, or we could go to Prague for a semester, and everybody wanted to go to Prague. I wanted to go to Prague. But like, truth be told, for the audience out there, my freshman year was really rough, and I had a really hard transition out of high school into college. And so I kind of turned it around in my back 3 years, but my GPA wasn't a 4.0, and it was like kind of this thing of like, you have to have a 4.0 if you're going to go to Prague, if you even want a chance of going to Prague. And so I kind of was like, I'm not going to even apply. I'm just going to go to Los Angeles, and I'm going to try and like work. And so I did a summer semester in Los Angeles, and I worked for ShareGrid. I was the assistant to the CEO for ShareGrid, which was really cool because it was before he sold it. His name is Brent Barbano. Shout out Brent if you're watching. He's a really cool guy. And then I also worked at this place called Peter Greenberg Worldwide, which I was essentially like, I was like a copywriter. I was just like an intern, just typing up like scripts from conversations and meetings and shit like that. It's really boring. But I really liked it. I really liked Los Angeles, and I got out of school and I worked for American High for a little bit, which is like a local kind of film production company. And I worked as like an electrician for a couple of those shows. And then I met my now fiance, then girlfriend, and she lived in New York City. And so I was going down to New York City, and I was like working on stuff a lot. And I worked in the city, and I had a really hard job, and it sucked. And then I came back and I worked on an American High show, and it was brutal. It was so hard. And it wasn't, the show was great. The people were great. It just was like, they didn't have a lot of money, and there was a lot of equipment, and there were not a lot of people, and it was just hard, long days. And I went home and I called my fiance on the way home, and it was like 2 a.m. I was like, fuck this. I'm moving to Los Angeles. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in New York. I'm moving to LA. I feel like there's more opportunity there. Austin, my business partner, was already out there. And so I moved without money or a plan. I was like 22 at the time. And I was like, I'm turning 23 in Los Angeles. And I left the month of my birthday, drove out. I didn't have a place to stay. I stayed in an artist community. So there were like 30 dudes in one room, and I had like a pod and like a hole in the wall. And I hung out with all the people who were comedians because they were the only ones who weren't insufferable. And dude, it was crazy.
I love that.
I was too tall for the pod, so my feet would stick out. So this one guy worked at a coffee shop, and every morning at 4:45, he'd wake up and walk to the bathroom, and he'd brush my feet, and it'd wake me up, and it was horrifying. Oh, I have a million stories from that place, but I lived there. And then another shout out, my friend Julia Rome, really talented actor, art director, just kind of genius person. Her family lives out here, and they put me up. Their youngest daughter went to college, and they were like, we have a spare room, and like throw us $100 and you can just stay here. And so they let me like crash at their house for like a solid 2 months. And I think if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have made it in LA. Because when I say I had no money, I had like $800. I had enough to like pretty much get a place to stay for like a month, and that was it. Back when $800 could get you a place to stay in LA for a month.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, and then I just my fiance ended up moving out here, and we got a place together to like save money. And yeah, dude, that was like 7 years ago. Which
wow.
is weird.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, it really does.
Time flies. And it brings us to a really great point where you're now out in LA, and everyone, especially people that work in these creative industries, know a lot of when you're getting started, there are so many pay the bills clients or pay the bills types of jobs, keep the lights on. And even the people that are wildly successful that you just see their greatest work still have a lot of those clients and a lot of those jobs that, you know,
yeah.
It's just an untold truth. There's that people need to hear.
Jon Favreau's directing fucking car commercials because they pay the bills, man. Yeah,
exactly. What were some of those early, you know, sort of pay the bills types of jobs when you got out to LA? You know, you just, like you said, you have $800. You really need to make some cash. What were some of those jobs, and what did working some of those gigs teach you about, you know, the industry out there, and how did it get you going?
Yeah. I have a bunch of them. I've worked a million odd jobs. I'll start with my least favorite was stocking shelves at CVS. That was awful. I did it as like a 2-month survival job because for people who don't know, the industry in the summer is really slow. Like it towards August, it kind of dies down. And then over Christmas, like December and the beginning of January, nothing happens. It is just, if you need to make a quick buck, December 15th, good fucking luck. Cause it is just, there's nothing. Yep. I'm sure for some people there are, but like
the vast majority,
it's just like dead. Unless you're already like contracted on a job that started much earlier, regardless. So I like during those months I worked at stocking shelves at CVS, and I'm not like proud of this, but I got a gig like while working there. And I remember my manager really liked me because I worked with all high schoolers. Like I was the only adult who worked in the store. And I walked in and he was like, all right, so tomorrow on the schedule. I was like, I'm not gonna be here. I'm sorry, dude. I'm done. I got another job. I'm leaving. He was like, bro, like you have to put in 2 weeks. I was like, I don't. So I'm never going to be able to work for CVS again, but hopefully I'm past that point.
Right.
So that was tough. But like I PA'd a lot. I got a lot of jobs. I kind of took a step down because when I was in New York at the time, Syracuse was such a small industry. They were passing out union cards. I was on a bunch of union shoots as an electrician, which again, for the audience that maybe isn't in the industry, it's hard to join a union. I have friends. I have a friend who's an art director, kind of like set deck props person, who just joined the union, and she's been specifically grinding at joining the union for the last like 6 years. Wow. So it's hard and it's expensive. there was a point where I wanted to join the union for cinematography, and the dues were like $16,000 to join, just the initiation fee to join the union. Also, once you join the union, then it bars you from doing non-union work, and you can come under fire for joining the union. So a lot of people think like, I joined the union, my life is great now, but no, you have to do the work to find union gigs, and there's almost this catch-22 where like you need to be doing a certain level of union jobs once you join the union, because once you join the union, there's no going back.
Right.
And it's also, you want to join in the thing that you want to do, because it's really hard to move up union classifications. Like if you join the camera union and like, you know, you join local 600 or, well, you know, you name it, and then you start as a first AC, but then you want to join again as a cinematographer. It's almost, from my understanding, I'm not union, so someone might correct me, but from my understanding, it's almost harder to jump up from being a first AC to a cinematographer than it is to just join as a cinematographer. Regardless, I PA'd a lot. I worked on a lot of documentaries. I worked as like an electrician a lot. I worked in camera teams a lot. I did a lot of like survival, like I will go shoot your corporate interview type of deal. I did a lot of music videos that like they would essentially pay us like $500 for the rate and to shoot it. And those ones weren't to pay the bills. Those were just to like do something, you know? I learned that like to a certain extent, beggars can't be choosers. Like there were definitely months and years where, especially after COVID, where it was like, I would take whatever I can get. You know, again, from stocking shelves at CVS to even like I did like equipment management for a little while, where just for like a month I was in a dude's studio. Just he had this massive warehouse. Then they just were filled with gear. They did like all the gear for like the Super Bowl and stuff like that.
Wow.
And so it was just inventory. They were changing their inventory system. So I was just doing that for like a month. But I learned, yeah, beggars can't be choosers. And also people will absolutely take advantage of your skill and time if you let them, which is unfortunate to say. Like, I think it's best to go into projects with like trust and understanding and like all the positive attitude in the world. But I learned really quickly that people will tell you one thing and then treat you another way, and they will undersell you, undercut you, undervalue you every step of the way if you let them. Not everybody, but there are, 10% of the people who will do that. And when you work enough, 10% is not an insignificant amount, And so you learn who your friends are really quick, and you learn who they're not. And there are, this maybe is like a little bit of like not a taboo subject, but like a weird subject, but like people do get blacklisted from the industry. Like that happens. Not as much anymore because the industry is like a lot more diverse than it was. But like it's a small town, and you run into people, and like a bad impression can really fuck you up for a long time. But I think kind of the unspoken thing is like you kind of have your own blacklist. Like there are people that you work with that if for your own self you go, I will never work with that guy again. I will never work for that company again. And so like when you're young and you're starting out, sorry, I'm getting a little like thinking about it is making me a little wiry, but like when you're young and you're starting out, there's this attitude of like, I will take any job. But I think almost the most important jump that I learned in that time period, especially those first 2-3 years, was there's a moment where you have to go, okay, I'm not going to PA anymore. Like not above that, but like I'm going to take that jump because I don't want to be known as a PA until I'm 40. Like I want to be X, Y, and Z, and I need to start doing that or working towards that goal. But there's also those things where it's like, they didn't pay me on time. They didn't feed me on set. They took advantage of my time. I was massively undervalued. I mean, where you go, okay, this person not only didn't like pay me the money that I was owed, but they also didn't treat me like a person and treat me like a collaborator, and treat me like an artist, which I am. And you go, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna work with this person. It's just not for me. Or company, I guess more so. Luckily, that's a very small group, but like it does happen. And that's, I think, a really important lesson. Sorry, I hope I'm not being too negative
No.
and I'm not trying to like.
No, that's great. That's great. And it's the power of no is so important and so powerful. And like you said, you know, when you're getting your feet wet and you're trying to find your footing, there is a lot. It is say yes to everything for a period of time. And you do have to, some of these things you do have to find out the hard way, unfortunately. But the power of no is super important. And now you said something that I of course, I'm not going to remember who said this, but I remember, listening to, I'm pretty sure it was a cinematographer talk about his path. And he said one of the biggest jumps he made was he was an AC, and he was, you know, doing incredibly well as an AC. And that's just what he was known as. And when he wanted to make that jump, he finally just had to be like, I'm not taking AC work anymore because I need to be known as a cinematographer. Like it's just, and it's, you know, so now you're passing on work that you probably desperately need, but you have to do that to kind of, you know, make the jump from the kiddie pool to the deep end. And, you know, so it's an important thing. It's a tough thing that I know a lot of people go through and deciding when to jump in head first and when not to. So it's really interesting to hear all those things. And yes, and the industry is incredibly small. The world is incredibly small. That's another thing people don't realize is like the degrees of separation are so small across, you know, everything. You could be anywhere and run into somebody who you guys have a mutual friend. Like it's all over the place. So, you know, treating people good and having good relationships and being known as a trustworthy hard worker, all these things are like so important because somebody somewhere will find out if you're not, and we'll definitely hear about it.
And it will, and I don't want to like install like fear in people because like, you know, everybody fucks up. I've been fired before. I know every single person that I know has a story where they have like fucked up and not been invited back to set. It happens. But I think like the important thing is like, if you're generally a like decent human, you have nothing to worry about. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like show up on time, do your job, don't piss people off, and expect the same out of everybody else.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's very helpful.
For sure. That's great. And those are some awesome stories and awesome experiences of Thanks, getting out there, doing the thing. So at what point, while you're kind of doing all these things and you're getting your footing and you're taking gigs, at what point did you and your business partner decide to come together and kind of grow Vision Kid into, you know, a proper production company? What was that experience like for you both?
It started pretty naturally. So we started Vision Kid actually while we were in college. We just didn't have a name for it. I was working at ShareGrid, or I just finished working at ShareGrid. And so I had a really great understanding of like gear and the tech side of it. And I had been making movies for a long time. And he actually was a photographer working in the music space. And so he was interning for this like small label creative house type of deal. Like they were like a label partnership where they wouldn't rep artists directly, but they partnered with labels in order to align them with like whatever creative visual stuff that they needed. Right. And so he worked with this band called Satellite Mode, and he came to me, we lived together, and he was like, bro, I want to make a music video for these guys. And we did. And looking back on it, like, I don't know what the fuck we were doing, but like it was really fun, and it came out great for being like a junior in college or whatever. And client was happy, and we just worked really well together on set. And then it kind of started this path of like we would do these individual projects, but it felt like we always ended up gravitating towards each other and like making projects together. And I can't say any. So Taylor and Austin are my two business partners, and I can't say anything but great things about them. Like they are just so much more talented and intelligent than I am. Like every single time that I talk to them, I'm just reminded how lucky I am to be in the room with them. And like Austin, for all of the things that he's great at, one of his biggest strengths is he is amazing with people. The guy could charm a goldfish, and he's very genuine about it. Like there's no slimy salesman shit. Like there are clients that we met who paid us $300 to make a music video, and it went fine, but like he's still great friends with them and they hang out all the time, and it's just like a testament to his character. So like there was like a side of the business that so much was Austin in the beginning, just being able to connect with people. And like I'm a little bit more of like a standoffish guy. Like I'm a little bit, and I'm like I'm on the autism spectrum, and so I have trouble connecting with people in that way. And he just is great at it. And so we kind of had this like yin and yang where like he was so good at connecting with the client and I was so good at like bringing all the crews together that like it just kind of naturally grew. And then we named it Vision Kid, and it was like randomly off of like conversation in a car. And yeah, we got one project in like 2021, 2022 that this guy named Dom Pacini like financed one of our mutual friends' scripts. And they were like, we need a production company to do it. And it was the first time that somebody had thrown us like real money to do a project. And it kind of gave us the confidence to go, okay. I also have to shout out in this thing, I have to shout out Cass Kallenberg as well. She was like our original business partner, and she worked like the label side. And so she also can say nothing but amazing things about Cass. Cass is like just an absolute powerhouse. But like, it was the three of us together who really grew it. And like, it just kind of, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm answering your question. I'm going down memory lane being
No,
like,
that's
oh man,
fine.
that was so fun. But like, it was a lot of just one of us would meet somebody that they go, I need a music video. And we were like, okay, we can do it. And I think, speaking of the power of no, we really early on were like, our business model is like, we are going to operate to the standard that we hope that other production companies operate at. And like, as we got older, we learned more and we learned the things we were doing wrong. And like, especially early on, like, dude, we learned that we were fucking everything up. But like we made this business model of, you cut us a check, we take the money, we figure out how to divvy it up, we'll give you all the sheets, we'll tell you what we're spending it on. Like there's full transparency, but like at the end of the day, you wire us the money and we take your artist and go and make a project that they're excited about. And then we deliver it to you. And there's deadlines and contracts and everything, but that is how we function. And you know, for being 23, 24, not a lot of people want to trust you with that. And so there were definitely some clients that we had who got really mad at us when we told us that was their business model. But that was, I think, talking about like hard jumps. It was doing Shock, which was the movie that got privately financed. And then having that moment of being like, no, we're not just going to take whatever comes in the door. We operate our business. We operate like a business. We take in a client, we deal with all the finances, we show you all the books, we show you what we're paying for, and we shoot it and we make it and we turn it around fast and we turn it around good. And that was like the moment where we went, okay. And then we did a music video for Nicky Youre, and that was huge. It blew up.
You went right into what I was going to say. I heard you say 2022, you guys are doing music videos. And I was going to walk right into, you guys shot Sunroof for Nicky Youre, which I think I looked up as we were about to start this. I think it's pushing 200 million views on YouTube, which is absurd. I mean, what was it like? What was it like shooting that? And how did that one come to be?
Oh, dude, it was total bullshit. I can't believe that we did it. I have a picture on. While I'm talking, I'll see if I can pull this up. I have a picture on my phone. I think it's actually on my Instagram of after we finished, Austin just laying in the street because it crushed us. Yeah, here I'll show. That's my business partner, yeah. Just like laying in the street, like. It was a favor to Cass, or I guess it was like a favor from Cass. She was like, hey, I met this kid. He's really talented. Cause Nicky was like 19 or 20 at the time. He was really young. She was like, he did one other song and it got like 1 million streams, which in the music world isn't a ton, but it's not nothing. It shows that there's something there, but it was his first ever single. She was like, he made like 5 singles under this label I'm working with. But they need a video. They need a project. And she sent us 5 demos. And Austin, Cass, and I sat down and listened to all of them. And we kind of all had our own opinions on which one we should do. And then finally it came down to Sunroof. And Sunroof was one of those projects, and this is just like a state of the industry. I'm not talking shit about anybody. Like, this is just kind of how it works, but you pitch an idea of like what you want to get made, and then the label gets it and they go, that's great. I love it. Fantastic. Perfect. But what if we changed the entire thing and did this other completely different thing? and Sunroof was one of those. The original idea was going to be little kids robbing lemonade stands. That was like,
Wow.
and Nicky was going to be the cop hunting him down. And it was going to be like summer Miami Vice, like little short thing. And they were like, that's great. But what if we didn't do just little kids? What if it was just Nicky robbing lemonade stands? We were like, I don't know if we can have him really robbing kids. And over the course, the turnaround was so fast. Like, we got the brief on like a Monday and it had to be out like 2 weeks later. So we were like against the wall. So over the course of 2 days, like, it was just this, I remember just this back and forth. And then finally the label was like, let's just get the coolest car we can with a pretty girl and him dancing in the car and just make it vibey. Like, okay. So we did, and we shot it. We pretty much got like the green light on a Friday or like a Thursday, and we shot it that Sunday. Like, it was just immediate turnaround. And we shot it in a day, shot it in like 6 hours. And we like pulled everything together, and we had a bunch of friends come and help us out. And the budget of that video was nothing. It was pretty much paid for the rental, the car, and the camera equipment. Like, it was a big favor video. And we sent it off and didn't think anything of it. And then like a week later, I got a text from a friend of mine that was like, yo, one of the guys who worked on it was like, yo, did you see? And he sent me a screenshot, and it was Kendrick Lamar had dropped a song, and right below it was Sunroof. And they were like on the top 100 right next to each other. Yeah, we freaked out. We freaked out a little bit. It was really cool. It was really cool. And it still plays. It was just, I was watching Love Island like 2 nights ago, and it was on Love Island this year.
I also heard it on Love Island, funny enough. And it just felt like I was watching with my lady, and I heard it come on, and I was like, man, that's funny. We're going to be talking about that in like 2 years from now. Yeah.
It was cool. And Nicky's a cool guy. And like, his music has matured a lot since that point. Like, it definitely was a song in the moment. And it got, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I mean that with all its graces. Like, it really hit on a trend at that time. And Nicky and the team around him are all very, especially Cass was great at this. They're all very smart social strategists. And so they really leveraged TikTok to launch that song. And they made it a sound or whatever. It's like a song that you can put at the bottom. And it just took off. And I think it was them aligning it to filters, where like at the time there were tons of trends of like, I'm doing this filter and I'm ranking my favorite thing. And they made it so it was always that song playing in the background, and it just blew up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's I don't want to say it's the first of its kind, but TikTok was in a different place during that time. Like, it was not used as, there were a lot of people making a lot of money. There were trends going around. People were promoting things, but it wasn't used as the marketing engine that it is now. Like, now the first thing you do if you're putting out a song is it goes into a sound on TikTok. But like, at the time, that was kind of like up in the air. If you did that, that's awesome. If not, cool, you're gonna just go other ways about it. So and they were like, creators now are being paid in order to use certain music with their stuff. Like, it was a very different landscape in 2022 when that, which is crazy to say when you say it like that. Like 3-4 years ago, like, completely different world. But that's internet years, man, are like they zoom by immediate. And you guys had this great experience, working with Nicky on this first video, and you've done more videos for Nicky throughout the years as well. Yeah. What is it like, to build these sort of relationships with clients and get to see that recurring business? And again, you kind of going back to like growing together, you guys get to do these other videos. And I saw one was, they were kind of in the same vein as Sunroof. Now that I think of it, they're like drifting around the desert, and there's all kind you get into these like, every time you do a project now, it gets to, kind of heighten a little bit further. What is it like to build those relationships?
It just comes with time. It really just comes with time. Like, it's kind of like anything else where when you first hang out with your best friend, you're probably just like sitting in the library joking about something, you know, if you're like a kid in school. But then by the time that you're older, like it goes to you guys being like, fuck it, let's go to Barbados and like get in a fight. I don't know. But like it's kind of the same thing where that trust needs to be built. And that first video, like, if I can give advice to anybody for any project, just whenever you have a great idea, save it for like your second or third project. Like push it off, especially with that client. Like if you're like, oh, dude, this would be perfect for Nicky. I love this idea. Just like make it video 4 or 5. Like make the first video just like solid and well produced and simple and what the label wants and what the artist wants, and be creative and elevate it and do the best that you possibly can. But you need to like build a rapport and build some trust and have them be like, okay, this guy's not gonna fuck up my whole thing, because there's a lot of trust from especially the label who's financing this whole thing. Like it really early on, those risks can sink you, and they have for us before. Like we've taken risks on videos and they've maybe not hit the way that the label wanted, and it's not like we got blacklisted and the label never talked to us again. It just was like, okay, I'm going to explore different creative avenues from the label and the clients, from the artist side. And so there's that kind of like artistic trust, and there's lots of conversations with like, where do they want their brand to go? What do they want their look to be in 10 years from now? What type of musician do they want to be? And you just kind of do your best to over time evolve with them and figure out like, okay, what idea can we have? There are ideas, of course, that like I've always wanted to do that get shot down, and it hurts when it happens, but it's part of the game. But yeah, you just hope that like as time goes on, that trust grows and you can make cooler and cooler stuff.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a great point too. That's one thing that's, like you said, part of the game, but it's probably the most difficult part in, making anything, creative endeavors, is like putting your heart and soul into something, or opening yourself up to critique and putting your idea out there with it, could very swiftly be shot down. What is your experience been like kind of balancing the, I have to, this is a client at the end of the day, I'm being paid to make their thing, so I have to follow their rules, but also I'm an artist. I have, things to say, I want to express. What is that kind of the up and down with those things, and how do you manage it?
Depends. It depends. There are like when we pitched for the Plain White Tees, and like what we will do, and it depends. Every bid is a little bit different depending on how you get reached out to and whatnot. And I won't go too far into it, but like we'll often send like multiple bids, or would send like multiple bids, and we'd send one that was like super safe. Like, we know the label's gonna like it. It's really simple. Visually looks great. Here you go. And then there's one that's kind of in the middle. And then there's one that felt like they were always my ideas, that the label always fucking hated, but they were really crazy. And we were like, dude, this would be so fun. Like one of them, we were working with the Plain White Tees, and they wanted to do a series of music videos. And one of them, we found out that one of the guys in the Plain White Tees was friends with Guy Fieri. So we pitched Guy Fieri Eats the Plain White Tees, where it was just a horror movie of Guy Fieri inviting them over, and he's like a super fan. And then he traps them in his house and like cooks and eats the Plain White Tees, and then feeds the Plain White Tees, like the rest of the band, to Tom, who's like the lead singer. And we sent it to the label. The label was like, what the fuck, dude? This is crazy. Like, we're not doing this. But like you get to do that, and then once you're on set and like you're making a thing, especially from like the director point of view, there are certain things that you have to do. And again, like as you develop and as you grow, like to a certain extent, the label will start, or the client will start to hire you for your voice. And if you make weird music videos, if you make weird stuff, like as long as you can prove that people want to watch it, they'll be okay with it. Because at the end of the day, labels, brands, commercial agencies, they just want to make money. That's what they care about. They don't care about the art. They don't care about what you're doing on set. Like a lot of them are very hands off sometimes, and like they just want to see a return on their investment. And if you can prove that to them, they don't really care if you do some crazy stuff, as long as when they watch it, they get that feeling that's like, oh, this is good. And then
Right.
people watch it and they buy a bunch of their t-shirts. I don't know. But like that's what they want. And so like the way that I balance it is I kind of look at everything as a mix between what do they want and what do I want, and very much from the lens of like what makes the thing better. What's going to make me make a good commercial, a good music video, good feature, a good whatever. Like what is going to, and I try to be as unprecious about my ideas as possible. And like if a better idea comes up or a more apt idea comes up, that's the one that we go for. No ifs, ands, or buts. No like ego in it. Just go for it. And then I do like one or two for me. I'll throw in like a shot or two that I'm like, yeah, this one I want. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And it's really no different than, you know, obviously on a different level of like, you know, Christopher Nolan has sold so many tickets over the course of his career that it's basically he does what he wants. Like it's no different. If you prove
Nobody's
that
checking up on Chris.
No. Do you think any production company or producers come into the Odyssey set and being like, I don't know, like I don't
like,
just
oh,
yeah.
You're doing the boat for real?
Yeah.
Go, fuck off.
Yeah. He's like, dude, you know how many asses I've put in seats? You know,
Yeah,
like
dude.
so it's at some point it's like the proof is in the pudding. It's like that's really all that it is. But I love you know the tiered system you have of like here's the safe option, here's the sweet middle ground, and here's the crazy one. I think that's a great piece of advice for people pitching their things out there, because you want to take a big swing, but you also don't want to lose the client. So it's like I love that as a principle.
And it's more work, and you don't even need to send all of them. Like I have somewhere deep in the Vision Kid Google Drive of ideas that Austin and I have sat down and been like, this is so fun. That was, if you've watched Nicky Youre, I think it was the second music video we did where he like becomes best friends with a cat. The idea originally was like a little bit different, but like, dude, that music video almost killed me. But that's the whole, if working with animals is a fucking nightmare, especially when the animal regular just like showed up and was like, here's your cat. And we are like, okay, so you're gonna stay and like do it. And he's like, cat's too young, can't train a kitten. And then he left. He just left a living cat with us. And we were like, we have like 2 days on this project. Like we can't take care of this thing. And he was like, there's some food and it's crazy fun. All right, sure.
Interesting business awesome. That guy's running.
Yeah, that guy was weird. Like that idea was like a deep recessed idea that I think Austin had like way back. And then we just were going through and we were like, well, we're having trouble coming up with an idea for this. Let's just pull something for it. And then we pulled that idea and we're like, we can bend this, we can make this work. And so even if you don't use them, even if you have this crazy idea and you send it to the label and they go, fuck you, no way can Guy Fieri eat the plain white tees, you can throw it in a folder and they don't own it. You still own that idea. You can rebrand it, repackage it, resell it, and it gets to live with you forever. So like, it's great.
I love that.
It's an exercise I think like all young creators should do.
Yeah, it's like having the notepad ready or your notes app. Like when something hits, even on the smallest level, like write it down, take note of it, expand on it as much as you can. And it's like you have no idea when it's going to come back around and you can find a nice use for it.
Absolutely. Like even small things where it's like I have made entire projects and entire ideas and movies and campaigns off of like watching somebody struggle to get into their car and being like, that was funny. And then I write it down. And then 2 years later, I go back and I'm like, this is a good scene. I'm going to put this into this movie and it becomes the thing that makes the movie good. And like that, I don't like, you can, it stays.
Life experience is so special. And like, so it's like just looking around, taking in your environment, like all these things are super critical. And you know, you guys have done a lot of music videos, and I think music videos are at an interesting place right now comparatively to where they've been. Like there have been times throughout history where it's basically a requirement you put out a song, there's a music video, and there have been times where labels become more resistant to that. And I think we're in sort of a middle ground right now. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it's like the labels don't necessarily care to have music videos, but at the same time they need video content. So it kind of, they go hand in hand. So it seems like a lot of times they get made for that dual purpose. What kind of is the current state of, professional high quality music videos in the industry? Where do you guys see it going, and how do you kind of take advantage of what there is?
Little dirty secret. I haven't made a music video in about a year. It's been about a year since I made a music video. It's been a long time. I've been on this like social media directing mecca, trying to make a feature. But like it's weird because, bear with me for this, I'm really long-winded. I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry to your listeners.
You're great.
Like music videos started as a marketing tool. Like I mean, they existed with fucking, what was it called? Led Zeppelin did their whole movie. The Song Remains the Same. They did a whole movie around their album. And like, there were music videos that were done that were really just like live performances of the band, so that you could go, oh my God, I love Paul, he's so hot, and watch the video of him performing. And they evolved over time, where once MTV and VH1 hit the scene, what's going to expand your audience? Being able to play it on television. So we need to have this bit of visual interest that's going to sit in somebody's mind, and you're going to watch VH1's Top 100 on Saturday morning, and then you're going to go onto iTunes and you're going to buy our song for $1.99. Like, that's what we need. And so like that marketing tool, like that time during the direct to sale like time period, music videos were so robust and they cost so much money, like, because you had an immediate return on investment. Like, those lists would come out, and from my understanding, being like, if you were somebody working in a label at those days, you could look at your sales graphs and it would be like you'd have X number of sales, and then the VH1 Hot 100 chart would hit, and your market would go up, and you can go, okay, no brainer. But music videos have always been and will always be part of the marketing budget. They are a tool for marketing. And so if you want to work in music videos, you have to understand how commercials work, because you are making something that's designed to catch eyes and go viral. And now the people still have a need and a want to make music videos, but now they're focused on making something that is going to work virally through social media. So that thing that they want has pivoted aggressively. And so even in the last 7 years, when we first started making videos, like, it was very much YouTube. You make it, it goes on YouTube, people watch it on YouTube, they're searching you up. It's a secondary revenue stream. Now it's like, this is marketing again, and we're making it so that people stop scrolling when they're on Shorts, or when they're on Instagram, or when they're on TikTok. And like, so I think that the want for videos and projects is still there, but the amount that they want to spend on it has decreased drastically. And, there's always going to be Kendrick Lamar, who's coming out with absolutely crazy banger music videos, because at a certain point, like, a good music video is marketing in of itself. And like, you don't need, if you're of a certain level, or if the video is just really, really great, you don't need to do all the stuff that everybody else is doing, where you're going to post it on YouTube and people are going to watch it because it's good content. If it's good content, people will watch it and will make them more money. But for the rest of us, for everybody who maybe aren't at that level, like, music videos are becoming TikTok videos.
Yeah.
Fortunately or unfortunately, and not always, and not in every instance, but there is like I don't remember the kid's name. He did a song that was, it's like half animated, half hand drawn, half live video. The dude's got to be like in college. It's fucking sick. It's an awesome video. But the whole thing is, it's 4:3, or it's 1:1. It's like a square ratio, and it lives on his Instagram. And it is a short. It is a reel. Like, it's not designed to live on YouTube long form pages. It's not designed to go to MTV to play on whatever the fuck they have now. It's like, it is made for you to stop your scroll and go, damn, this is cool. And like, it's transitioned.
It's interesting too, because we've seen a lot of the 1x1s and the 4x3s ratios come back into style, and like some people have been like, oh, it's like vinyl, like retro comes back, and this whole time I'm like, I think it's just because you can get away with it in a vertical video. Like it's all that it's like we want to believe that it's retro coming back and all this, but really it's just you can get away with this as a vertical, so people are more willing to do it.
Mark my words. You are going to see in the next 2 years, you're going to see an influx of reverse anamorphic shooting, of people shooting anamorphic configurations that are designed to squeeze a 16:9 image into like a 1:1 or a 4:3, because every single company ever, tinfoil hat on, and I don't want to say too much, because like I work with a lot of these companies and I have NDAs for things that people are working on, so I really want to be careful about like what I say. But like, for the most part, every SVOD network, every streaming service is looking at the thing that gets the most money, which is short content on the internet, like bar none, and YouTube. And they are looking at YouTube videos, and they're looking at Reels and TikTok, and they're going, how do we make our thing over here look more like this? Because this YouTube thing is making a shit ton, and these companies are slowly cannibalizing themselves, because it's cable at this point. You know what I mean? And so they are heavily interested in finding projects that are designed for vertical spaces. And like, are you like tapped into the vertical world at all? Like, I mean, like vertical long form media?
Not a ton. I'm somewhat resistant to a lot of the vertical stuff. I'm one of those guys that has stickers all over my camera case, and my favorite sticker says "Make video horizontal again." Like that is I'm all about films and you know what I mean? And but it's like, but also we all live in the current state of the industry. We all work for clients that have needs, so it's like you know.
I agree with you. It bothers me, even though I've shot a lot of things vertically, but like there's a whole world, and this really started. Shout out Darman. Kind of started with him, but the group of people with the highest purchasing power are people who are older in life and who are married to individuals who have like a full-time job. So it traditionally was like Midwestern women was like I don't know. What's the name of the company? They own the Tennis Channel. So Sinclair Incorporated owns, like, they bought up a bunch of like local media houses in 2016. It was like a huge problem. I have gone to Sinclair. I've met some of the people who run it. And their entire business model is white women over the age of 40. That's who they market towards. That's all they care about. And the reason being is because historically they've had the most purchasing power. They have a ton of time. They have a ton of expendable income relative to the time that they have, because they're like, in the Midwest, there still was like this kind of like 1950s carryover where it was like, he's got a full-time job. Houses only cost $70K. They paid it off. They're 50 years old. Fuck it. I need to watch something while I'm folding laundry, and Sinclair like capitalized on that. Now that demo looks different, but the idea is still the same. Like there still is a group of people who have expendable income and expendable time, and those demos change, but like chasing that demo is always the thing that's going to make a bunch of money. That and kids always fucking make money. But the verticals, it started kind of with Darman, where he made soap operas for the internet. And then they took a bunch of those ideas and made them a little spicier, showed a little bit more shoulder, and they put them, all these companies, especially in China, invested heavily into making purchase by episode verticals where you watch a full movie, but it's like 10 cents per episode, 5 cents per episode. But there's 400 episodes in a movie because they're like a minute long, you know? And so they might shoot a 200-minute movie, break it down to 168 episodes, and then you're spending 5 cents, and to you, it's 5 cents, who gives a shit? But that stacks up to be quite a bit of money by the time you finish episode 200. And so that space, that idea is going to come to market a lot harder. It's huge in other countries. They're shot all the time in LA. I mean, I know people who make an entire living better than I ever will just shooting verticals, just being directors for verticals. But it's here to stay. And as unfortunate as it is, all of the media that we know and love is going to chase that trend, I fear.
Yeah.
I can't see the future, but
I too fear. Fear is the right word. It's like I too fear that. It's like it's brutal. It's brutal. And you know, it kind of goes like similarly to like obviously AI is a huge conversation now, and I'd be curious to hear your opinions on that as well. I think generally with, you know, it's a great tool in certain aspects. Like obviously a lot of editing tools use AI as like the background, and they have been for years. Like this is just now becoming a thing because of generated imagery as people are starting to come around. But something that's been interesting, I feel like with art and visuals in particular, is a lot of the consumers are pretty rejectant to generative AI in a lot of ways, which does make me feel good, at least a little bit, that like, obviously, you know, we're talking about money hungry corporations as well that do not generally care if people like it or not. But if we can all band together and decide that as a consumer base, we're not going to accept something, maybe that kind of holds it off. Where do you think AI is headed in the film industry? I think it's no question that it obviously needs to be regulated, and there's obviously, you know, there's been strikes because of how AI was being used. Where do you think it's going? What are you hearing from the people around you, and what are your opinions on it?
So I've worked a little bit in AI. I've worked with companies who are very AI forward. I wouldn't say I'm anti-AI. I would say I'm AI extremely cautious and AI a little bit angry. I think a couple of things. I think that one, it is a great tool. I mean, look at I talked about Corridor Digital earlier, but they just came out with Corridor Key like 5 months ago, which is like an amazing keying software for green screen, and that uses AI in order to like read your image, and they built a model around it, and it's just improving the more people use it because it gets more data points and blah 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 blah. It's really fantastic. I would try it out if you can. It's open source. It's really cool. But like for things like that, I think it's great because I think that it's always awesome when we make a tool that makes it so that artists can stop spending time on the thing that is tedious and sucks and have more time to hone the image that's in their head and give it to people. Now, where that gets muddy is I think generated imagery generally is really pretty abysmal. Like it never looks good. It's not human. It hits the uncanny valley for a lot of people, I think. And I think that's why people like react to it. On going the fear side, I worry that there's going to be a time where we reach an AI singularity where you no longer can tell. And then that becomes the moment where it's kind of like bad CG. Like when CG first came around, everybody was really mad at it because they're like, CG is awful and it's ruining movies. But then CG got so good that like you can't really tell in certain instances. And you only call out bad CG when you notice the CG. But like nobody talks about the snow that's falling in any movie ever that now is just CG because snow sucks to shoot in. So why wouldn't you do that? And like, I fear that AI will become that thing in the wrong circumstances where, I wanted to put Gene Hackman in my movie, but I couldn't do it. So I rented his likeness and now I can put him in my movie, and you watch it and it doesn't hit the uncanny valley. And now there's this whole slew of ethical issues outside of just the artistry of it. There's like the actual human aspect of it. On the other side, I think that I think that's like half my brain, and the other half, maybe 60% of my brain, isn't worried. I think that they're operating like how these companies are operating like how Uber operated 5-10 years ago, where they are worth a ton of money because they don't make any money. They're in the red as far as their books go. And right now they're really cheap and they're very accessible and everybody uses them. And then slowly what will happen as they move out of this kind of, this unknown entity as far as like the business side goes, and they get a board of directors and they have stock options and they have financiers that they need to repay, they're going to start to turn up how expensive it gets. And because of the usage cost, it's going to get really expensive really fast. And I think companies are going to go, fuck this. It's cheaper just to hire a motherfucker to do the thing. And like, I think like there's a lot of fear around it. I hope I'm not the guy being like, the TV will never replace the radio. But I really think it's going to get very expensive and it's going to become unsustainable. And companies are going to realize it's not the cash cow that they think that it is. And there also always needs to be people who are making new things to feed these models. So
Right.
if they just invest only in AI, they're just going to crumble because they can't make anything new if there's not people making new things, That's,
Right.
I think, sorry, I'm really passionate about this. Like,
No, that's great. I love it.
So like, I think like for all these companies, for all these people that are talking about AI and being like, oh, well, AI can make a movie now. It's like, okay, an AI doesn't understand rhythm. It doesn't understand timing. It's not real. It's the thing that it's making isn't real. It is fractal noise that has been condensed into what we have taught a computer is a thing. And you tell it, make this thing, and it takes this random noise and it condenses it into something. But I don't think that with the language models that we have right now, I do not think that it is something that will ever replace human ingenuity. I think it's something that can only assist it. And if you're 12 years old and right now you're going, well, I don't need to worry about learning how to make a movie, I can just use AI, I think that you're wrong. I think that people will always need to make something in order for these models to function at all. And then I think they're going to get so expensive that companies are going to realize they're diminishing returns, and we're going to see a fall off in them used for image generation. And they're going to fall more into the aspect of corridor key, into the aspect of assistive editing, into audio redesign, those sorts of spaces.
Right. For sure. I mean, there are so many great AI tools out there, like, the voice isolating or all these things.
Yeah.
Like they made an entire, Beatles song. They were able to isolate John Lennon's vocals, and they put it out like 2-3 years ago. I think they were able to isolate his vocals from like a live recording that was just like the band screwing around like that. Pretty good use of AI. It's like using original material. It just kind of helps you along the process. Yeah, it's super interesting. And I work a lot in the commercial world, and it's like, I hear it all the time too with clients, about different AI things. And I'm hoping, I've been in contact with, this guy, Matt Petrocci, who I'm hoping to have on the podcast here soon, who worked on the Coca-Cola, holidays are coming
nice,
AI
man.
ad. Yeah. And it's like, obviously that was one of the first like massive national pieces where it's like, this is all AI generated imagery that people really leaned into. And, and that was one thing that I've had like local clients like point to and be like, well, these things can be made, like, look how awesome that is. And it's like, yeah, with, 25,000 prompts and like hundreds, if not thousands of man hours. Like, it's not just this free thing where you type in a couple words and all this comes out. And then again, you're getting into the moral dilemmas, the ethical dilemma. Like, there are so many things. And I think my hope with AI is that everyone has the same idea of like where it could go, but then at the same time, everyone has a different negative way that it could go. So it's like, there's so many things that could go wrong with this model of it taking over the world, that I'm just hoping that one of them we only need one of them to be the thing that kind of knocks it down a peg and keeps it where it should be.
Every single company that I talk to, every single executive, it talks about two things. They want, at least in the media space, they want influencers to make their movies, because Obsession and Backrooms and Bring Her Back and Talk to Me and all of those movies, especially horror movies from Iron Lung as well, like They were all YouTubers. They were all social media personalities. I know every company. Listen, if you're a YouTuber, go make a movie. It's hot right now.
These guys are filmmakers that just so happen to use the resources available to them, which is YouTube. It's not like you can't just like pick the influencer off of TikTok and be like, oh, this guy could probably make a great movie. You know, it's like that thing of like,
yeah.
I'm so excited that, you know, I feel like 20 years ago, they would have found the guy that made the Backrooms short on YouTube, and they would have plucked the idea, paid him a whole bunch of money, and then they would have gone and hired, you know, the director that's been doing it for 40 years to go make the movie.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that these opportunities are presenting themselves for younger people, but, you know, cautiously, hopefully they continue to go to the right people, as opposed to let's just pick the guy with a lot of followers because we know he'll sell tickets.
I agree. I agree. I mean, let's hope it. I mean, speaking of Freddie W. from earlier, like he essentially was like, okay, let me use all this experience and all this time that I've done making movies, and Hollywood essentially told him to go fuck himself, which is crazy, because if he was doing that maybe 10 years later, it would be a totally different conversation, you know? And
yeah, he paved the way in so many different avenues. And it's crazy because you're so right. If he was doing that, you know, now or a handful of years ago, or that peak of YouTube, like late 2010s, I mean, that guy would be taking over the world.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it's another thing with where the state of the industry is at is so interesting, is that, you know, LA's always been this hub and it's always been known as the movie capital of the world, but just the way that, you know, tax dollars work these days and how expensive it is to shoot anything, so many things are being shot outside of LA. There's basically every, you know, every city that is trying to kind of boost up their film industry across the country is seeing massive gains every single year. You know, whether it's tax credits that bring in production.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting time because there is work in so many different areas. What is it like still being in that hub? And obviously a lot of the deals get done in LA and a lot of the business gets done, and people love being local to LA. They, you know, a lot of actors like working out of LA, and people like not having to travel. What is it like being in that base while also seeing, you know, things that have, you know, deals that have been done, handshakes that have been done in LA being shot in other places around the country and around the world?
It's hard. Like, I think it's one of those things I don't have like too much of an opinion on, because I'm kind of like going through it at the moment. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
There's only so much that's shot here. It used to be that everything was shot here, and now it's only, you know, 40% of it. I'm hopeful that they just signed a deal to bring tax credits to California and to give incentives. There's some arguments that are happening right now to make it so that Film LA is just more accessible, and they have indie permits, and you don't have to spend an ungodly amount of money for permits to shoot in Los Angeles. But like, I'm hopeful that, you know, the fact that Obsession was shot in LA is a huge win. You know, the fact that a lot of these movies that are doing well at the moment were shot in Los Angeles, I think is, at least for me, feels great. I think that LA will never get back to where it was when it was in the golden age, because like, location is cheaper. I think the only thing that is going to make LA something that stays for after this kind of like weird transitional time is going to be their studio system, and the fact that they have volumes built, they have giant green screen walls built, they've got all of that stuff, that it's an infrastructure for film. So as long as I think that we can hold on to LA for like another 5-6 years, I think that it will even out eventually. But yeah, and until they figure out how to make it cheaper for people who are doing budgets between $500K and a couple mil, like, because you just get priced out. Like, if you're doing a $40 million feature, go shoot wherever the fuck you want. They're going to shoot parts in LA. They're going to shoot parts in New York. They're going to shoot wherever they want to do it. But like, until LA can just straight up make it cheaper for the little guy, why would the big guy shoot here? You know? And
right.
I think that's kind of like the unfortunate like fact of the industry, you know?
Right. Yeah. And it's ever changing, you know, it could be, you know, this is the story now. It could change. It's going to change so much in such little time. And it's kind of just, hold on.
Yeah,
hold on, do what you can, and just kind of work within the parameters of what's given,
Yeah. And it's where your connections are at. Like, if you know a ton of people shooting in LA, come to LA and shoot in LA. But like, if you live in New York and you've been working in the film industry in New York and everybody you know is in New York, like, stay in New York, shoot in New York, because there's more projects coming coming there, which in my opinion is a good thing. Cause like, I love Los Angeles. I love living here, but like, I'm not going to live here forever. I can't, it's too expensive. I can't imagine raising a family out. I'm getting married next year. Can't imagine having kids out here. I mean, hell, I have a dog and it's fucking expensive to have it be out here. So like,
I get you.
It's my kind of personal life philosophy, and this doesn't work for everybody, is like, wherever you are, there you are. And like, if you want to, as long as you're not in like, I don't know, West Bend, North Dakota or some shit like that, I think you're probably, if you're near a big city, they're going to be shooting films there and you can get involved in the film industry and go where the wind takes you. And everybody's journey is a little bit different. And like, mine happened to be LA, but like, if you're living in Atlanta, if you're living in New Jersey, like, shoot in those places,
Absolutely. Yeah. Be where your feet are standing,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And I think people need to take into account that more often, and just, this is the situation I'm in and we're going to make the absolute best of it. And the barrier to entry is lower than it's ever been, which is like the best and worst part of the industry at the same time. So it's like, just get in, just jump in, do what you can. And that's, go make a movie. That's that's the perfect recommendation to anybody that wants to do it. Right. And it's so interesting now, you've been doing this, you said, the time flies. You've been out of school 9 years now or there and abouts. And what did success look like to you when you first, got out of school, moved to Los Angeles, and how has that perception of success changed over time? And from where you sit now, what does success look like for you?
Oh, that's fantastic. I got a great one for you. When I was like in school, it was like being Steven Spielberg was like the idea of success. It was like making this movie that everybody sees, everybody is really happy about it. I've found a lot of happiness and fulfillment in giving joy to people, making something that I think is good, and being able to put food on my table. Like, if I like the feeling of not having to worry about where my rent comes from, which isn't all the time, but sometimes it is. And like, that is its own form of success. I love the feeling of making something I'm truly proud of. I think that I don't think I've quite done it yet. Like, all the things that I watch, I look back at and I'm like, it's fine. Which is okay. There are things that I've written and I am going to make that I'm very excited about and hopeful that hits that kind of thing. But just finding like one thing that you like about something that you made is very fulfilling. And then I think the other thing is, if I can just connect with a couple of people, like when I make a movie and it plays at a festival and everybody laughs at a joke that I thought was really funny, I feel really fulfilled and happy. When I make a music video and I see a comment that's like, I love this video, I named my cat the name of this cat because I loved it so much. Like, that makes me really happy. And like, I feel like I talked about it, like Sunroof as a music video, I don't love, but I love how much joy it's brought everybody. And that's why I like that video. I watch it and I think that I have a lot of criticisms and anger towards the way that like I made it at the time. But I think my idea of success has gone from being something where it's like, if I'm not making a movie that everybody loves and is tweeting about, I'm not doing it right, to just being like, if I can make something that I enjoyed making it, I made it with people that I love, and it came out and there's one thing about it that I liked and one person who watched it and went, that put me in a better mood, then I'm doing something. And that's important to me. So that's
absolutely
kind of how I feel.
That's great. And I think I think that's every creative person's thing, is like the idea of success always starts in the heavens, you know? And like, I think it's very important to have a healthy relationship with that. You don't lower your standards per se, keep that faith alive and really believe in yourself that you can be that sort of person. But I think also at the same time, we need to like reasonably set expectations of like, what is a great life look like for me, and kind of reverse engineer of like, okay, now what are the things that we can do to get to that point?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And like, maybe one day I'll make, I'm working on some projects right now, and maybe one of them will blow up. Maybe I'll have something blow up when I'm 60 years old, and I will be ecstatic. I will be so excited, and it will be, I know, like one of the greatest feelings of my life if I get to watch one of my movies in a movie theater, And I kind of have, but like, you know what I mean? Like, go to a random movie theater and see the movie that you made on the marquee and be like, man, I did something here. But at the same time, like, as long as when I'm 60 years old, I'm still making movies, I'm going to be pretty stoked about it. Like, I don't want to be one of those dudes that you meet that's, 60 years old and divorced and angry at everybody and is like, I worked on the Titanic when I was 20 years old. And you're like, that's awesome, man. And they're just angry at the world and they're angry at themselves. Like, as long as I'm not that guy, I'm going to be pretty stoked about it.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, man. Yeah. And it's so great too that, we need to also, like, the internet age is kind of put us in the forefront of like, look at this, 20-year-old who went and made $100 million grossing movie. Like, we need to remind ourselves that is not normal, and it's not even close to normal. And for most people, they don't make their first feature until they're much later into their careers. And like, everyone's peak a lot of times in these industries comes so late in life, just because it's through life experience. It's through putting in your dues. Like, all these things are valuable. And, just because you're not doing it at 25 doesn't mean you'll never do it. And 100%. I think it's to like keep pushing, keep your head down, run your own race and do the best you can with the path that you're forging is something we need to be reminded of.
And just like people reminding themselves, like, there are hundreds of movies that come out every day, especially indie movies across the world. And there's one Obsession. And like, sometimes I loved Obsession. I thought it was a great movie. But it doesn't mean it was the best movie. It doesn't mean it was better than any other indie movie that came out that year. It just happened to hit the right place at the right time with the right people, and it blew up. And like, that can be anybody. As long as you make a good movie, it can be anybody. And like,
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, I love that. You're getting me fired up, man. It's like, I'm all about this. We'll wind it down a little bit here. Cool. I got the final question for you. The show is called Someday Soon. So for you, what falls into that someday soon category for you, and how is that thing going to set you up for all the future successes and the plans that you have set for yourself?
Fair. Good. Yeah. I'm pitching a show pretty soon, hopefully. That would be really cool. Who knows if we'll go anywhere, but it's looking hopeful. I think that would be, the end of the day, like, I want to write and direct miniseries. Like, that's my, like, 60 years old, everything went well. That'd be really who I want to be. But for right now, like, I have a short in pre-production, just like everybody else. It's really fun. I think it's very fast paced, very energetic, really, I think, funny and actiony, and just a good, kind of like a good ride. And it's very much in my style. And I feel like since I've been working with so many brands and so many partnerships and music videos, I haven't done anything that's really like solidly my voice in the last like 5 years. And I've changed a lot as an artist. That's a long time to not make a short film or make something that I feel like really I have ownership over. So I'm going to go make that. Search if anybody has like a spare $100,000 lying around, let me know. We'll gladly take it. But no, we're looking for financing right now. And, hopefully that does just enough in order for somebody to take a meeting with me so I can try and sell one of these other scripts that I'm also really stoked about. So it's just little by little, chipping away. Yeah.
I love it. I wish I could help you out financially, but I'm here in my support in any way that I can help.
Perfect.
Besides, my empty wallet, but other than those things,
we'll bring you out on set.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, dude. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate all the stories, the insight. Let everyone know really quick where they could find you. Hopefully what they should be looking out for next.
Yeah. You can find me. My website is delfav.com, DELFAV.com. You can contact me there. Somebody needs to. My Instagram, again, _delfav. Vision Kid Films, visionkid.net is where you can see all of the music video work. I'm around. If you go on, I don't know, Darman, and ever watch any of their stuff, I've directed about 200 of their videos. So if you ever want to see my darkest moments, go ahead and watch one of those.
That could have been an episode of its own.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you taking the time. Subscribe to the show on YouTube if you haven't. Follow on all the social platforms at Someday Soon Pod, and we will see you next time.
Bye, everybody.